What's happening? Landlord from Alabama here, back with another video. And today, man, we finna talk about Markquese Bell. His name definitely been ringing bells in OTAs after he made a couple plays, so you know we gotta talk about him. Let's go. The dark horse undrafted free agent safety was born in New Jersey, standing at 6'2", 212, and ran a 4.41 in the 40. So we know he got some decent size and a lot of speed for his position. He originally committed to Maryland in 2017, but got suspended for an undisclosed team violation indefinitely. So we hope it's not nothing too manic. We hope it's not nothing too nefarious, to say the least. He then went to Coffeyville Community College, where he had 2 interceptions, 52 tackles, and 5 tackles for loss in just 8 games. He then enrolled into the HBCU FAMU Florida A&M in 2019, where he received first team All-Eastern Athletic Conference recognition his first season with 61 tackles, 5 interceptions, and 9 pass breakups and 11 starts. Then his team didn't compete for 2 years due to COVID, and they ended up switching conferences and joining the SWAC in 2021, where he raked in 95 tackles, 6.5 for loss, and an interception in 12 games, where he was awarded first team All-Conference. Now let's go over a few of his strengths and some of his weaknesses. Now first off the bat, I seen that he seems like he was a alpha dog. He was one of the people that most of the players on the team gravitated towards. He seemed like he was one of the people that was getting everybody lined up. He was a leader and a vocal person on that defense for the Rattlers. He had that swagger, that moxie, that fearless, aggressive type nature that you need to play defense in the NFL for sure. That's one of the best attributes I've seen from this player. I didn't see him struggling too much to disengage. When it was time for him to dissect the play, he was coming down screaming, looking like he was shot out of a cannon to make some of them big time hits that we love to see. And he wasn't scared. He had a fearless type mindset out there on the field for sure. As soon as he diagnosed the play, it's like boom, he's there. He's coming down screaming, trying to hit you, meet you square in the middle of the box, and make sure you feel it. Make sure you remember to think twice next time you come straight up with him. And I did actually see some of that 4.4 speed translate to the field. Sometimes players just be track fast and really don't translate well when it comes to football speed, and that's really 2 different things. But I seen Markquese look like he was diagnosing the plays pretty fast, and he was going everywhere, sideline to sideline with no problem. The only things I seen was in the weakness category that we're gonna go over later. You know, some players could be super fast, but not as high in the IQ category, so that'll make them look a little slower on the field. So that's a difference. I didn't really see him struggling when it comes to reading and reacting and dissecting the plays and getting in position and staying in position. Now let's talk about some of his weaknesses. With him being a small school prospect, it's kind of difficult for scouts to project how much athleticism he actually has, because a lot of the level of the competition be kind of subpar. They really don't be up to par for them to be able to actually judge him against some top tier talent. So that's gonna be one of the knocks on him until he prove otherwise. A decent average player from a D1 school should go to a small conference and dominate, but sometimes that's not the case. It is some cases where it's diamonds in the rough, so I'm not just gonna say that's the end all be all, but we do need you to be pretty spectacular coming out of small school because of the level of competition. One thing that I did see that kind of stuck out, it seems like he was kind of running high, backpedaling high, and he was a little stiff when it came to his movements, and he was seeming a little stiff when it came to him in coverages and backpedaling and trying to cover some of these wide receivers. He had a couple of false steps, not really out of position, but he just wasn't as alert when it came to him being in coverage. When it was run play, he was dissecting and boom, going straight to the middle of the box and making a play. But at his size, at 6'2", he's a pretty long kid, so that's pretty normal, pretty natural for a lot of those long, lanky type players not to be as fluid when it comes to hip movement and actually just movement in general. So that's not a super big knock on him, but that does answer the question why you hear Mike McCarthy say he could play the linebacker position. He is a very, very aggressive player, and you know, with his aggressive mindset, he's a box safety basically. So he's trying to come up and stick his nose in the run. He wants to make a play, a tackle for loss. He's that type of player. So it's a double-edged sword when it comes to players like that, because he's very vulnerable when it comes to play action. He was biting and taking the bait more times than not. So that's something that he's gonna have to improve on going into the NFL. When it comes to tackling, I know we at a small school, so a lot of those aggressive hit stick type tackles where you just run and just push the player down real hard, that works in small conferences against average size players, but he's gonna have to learn how to wrap up a little better when he goes to the next level for sure. You're not gonna be able to just run over players like that in the NFL. This is big boy ball. You're gonna have to grab a lunch pail. It's gonna be a long day trying to run up on them players like that. You're gonna have to come with everything you got to knock these players down and wrap up. It's gonna be technique or bust in the NFL for a player like this. He's gonna have to clean up some of those technique issues when it comes to tackling. But I really do like this prospect. I like his aggressive and reckless type mindset out there. You need that type of energy when it comes to playing defense. You gotta be kind of crazy to play defense, because it's like a car accident. All times you boom running into each other. So you gotta be a little reckless to play defense. So I believe that Dan Quinn can't wait to get his hands on this player. That's why he's been a topic of discussion, because Dan Quinn realizes that he can actually utilize this player in the right way he needs to. Dan is the man when it comes to maximizing these players' talent, in my opinion. That's why I lean towards him so much on this coaching staff. The way I look at players, for example, like you could just put a knife on the table. Depending on the man, it depends on what kind of results you get. One man can pick up the knife and prepare you a 5-star type meal, you know what I'm saying? He could be a chef. One man can pick it up and he can turn into a killer. It just depends on how some people are able to use these tools. I look at the players like tools. It's a chess piece on the board, and if you don't know what you're doing with them, they're gonna look bad. But I like Dan Quinn in this aspect because he does know how to maximize and utilize these players to their best ability. He just does what the players do well, and that's why he's one of the better defensive coaches. That's why he flipped our defense in 1 year, and I can't wait to see what he does next year. But most of his weaknesses does come from the safety position when it comes to coverages and being in coverage in general. That's basically most of the things that he didn't exceed in, and you can definitely cover that up with putting him in the linebacker position. This team is kind of lacking and in need of a linebacker these days too, so he would be the perfect fit for linebacker with the Dallas Cowboys for sure. We are in dire need of a linebacker. But overall, I do see him making the 53-man roster, especially if he keep making plays like they say he did in OTAs with the pick 6. That's gonna really keep you on the coach's radar. That's gonna get you some playing time on this field. I see with his contract, they gave him a little more than they gave the rest of the undrafted free agents. So that's a sign, that's a signal right there saying that they see some kind of potential or something that they can use out of this player in Dan Quinn's scheme. So at bare minimum, I can see him making a good impression on Bones Fossil, you know, possibly being the new CJ Goodwin, CJ 2.0. He can win Bones over and definitely get on this roster from special teams because he loves to run and hit, and that's exactly one of the best attributes you can have to be on the special team. But I think the future projection that the Cowboys looking at, that he could possibly be a versatile player who can definitely improve on some of his coverage abilities, and he could possibly be their next J-Ron Curse and their next project, their next player that Dan Quinn can just turn into a physical monster. But with that being said, that's all I got for you today, man. Just holla at your boy, Landlord from Alabama, with the same handle on all social media. And like I say, 1K, 1 love, Cowboys Nation. Let's go.